We're still in Tzadiches Halach Aleph. We spoke about this time about tasting things. So I just have to start by telling you that last time I told you that in order to really taste something, you have to swallow it. And so the word tasting and te'ima in over there meant swallowing it. But today, the word tasting means not swallowing it. Tasting means like a different way the person can use it. It means just to put it into your mouth, not to swallow. Okay, so there's a tshuva in the Rivash, like everybody quotes this, tshuva in the Rivash, who says is that anytime that something is awesome to eat, everything that's awesome to eat is only awesome if you awesome with the rice is only if you swallow it. Midrabanan, it's awesome if you put it into your mouth, if you taste it with your tongue, all those kind of things are awesome midrabanan. But in order to be even an issa deraisa, you have to actually swallow the food. Okay, this is brought by lots of people, including the Ramah, which is important for us. The Ramah brings in some kofches and in other places, and most people understand that that issa derabanan applies even if the food itself is only assa midrabanan. Meaning, you shouldn't think that's like a gzera. So if a food is only assa midrabanan or a special akum, it's only assa midrabanan, even though it's also to put into your mouth. And they say the Pri Chadash says it's not gzera because for everybody in the world thinks that putting something into your mouth and swallowing it is the same thing. They think if you until 30 seconds ago, you may have thought that also. Until if you put it in your mouth or if you swallow it, it's the same. So when Chazal asks you something to eat, including that is to put it into your mouth also. That is the drabanan to swallow, to taste things, includes things that you're just putting into your mouth also, because for lay people, that's what those means. Okay. So there's two explanations given for why. Good morning, David. Two explanations for why it should be asur midrabanan to taste something without swallowing. Okay, so the Rivash himself, which is where the din comes from. The Rivash says it's because if a person tastes the food, he might end up swallowing it. So therefore, Chazal said, don't put it into your mouth because you might end up swallowing it also. Okay, that's the Rivash learns. I forgot to mention. Okay, I'll say it in a second. That's what the Rivash says, and the Ramah says the reason is because the din is that there's something called reicha. Reicha means it gives a tiny amount of tam, just a reich of a tam, and it's always bottle. It's tiny amount. It's always bottle. But l'chatchila, you're not allowed to allow reicha to go from treif to kasher or something like that. So the Ramah says if you're not allowed to allow reicha, which is like nothing, it's so tiny, it's always going to be bottle. Then if you have a real taste of something, that's kol shekain, that should be asur to have it also. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what the kol shekain is, but anyway, that's what the Ramah says. It's a kol shekain. If you can't allow reicha lechatchila, then kol shekain you can't allow te'ima to just tasting something, putting something to your mouth, and not swallowing it. That's for sure should be asur. Okay, so just as a little of an aside, why did Ramah have to tell you his own reason? The whole thing comes from Rivash. That's who he's quoting from. Everybody quotes it from this Rivash. The Rivash has his reason. Okay, so why did Ramah? What do you have to make up a new reason for? So what I thought was it seems that the Ramah is l'shitasei, because what I just told you, that the Ramah says that reicha is asur l'chatchila, that's what the Ramah holds. Most Rishonim do not hold like that. The Ramah himself, the Darkman himself tells you, he doesn't. Most Rishonim, Machabit doesn't hold like that. They hold that it's actually mutar l'chatchila. And that shaila about whether it's mutar or asur comes from exactly this din where the Rivash brought his raya from. The Rivash's raya that it's asur midrabanan is from a Gemara that says that Rava said you're allowed to taste, allow vapors from wine to come into your mouth because it's reicha and reicha lav milsi. So you're allowed to come into your mouth. And but had it been real wine, it wasn't just a reicha wine, it would have been asur. So you see from there that even though you didn't swallow it, the Rivash says you see that it's asur and it's only asur, and he says it's only asur midrabanan. Okay, well, what is, according to the Rivash, what is the Gemara saying? That Rava said is you're allowed to put it into your mouth. Reicha, you're allowed to put it into your mouth l'chatchila. That the whole Gemara that he's talking about is talking about a case where you're allowed to do reicha l'chatchila. Now, other Rishonim have different shot in the Gemara, which is what the Ramah holds like. But the Rivash himself holds that reicha is mutar l'chatchila, as to many Rishonim. The Ramah holds it's also l'chatchila, and therefore he has his kalchar. Okay. Maybe I said it too quickly. Okay. Now, there's a nafkamina. There's a nafkamina between these two reasons. Okay. Again, the Rivash said the reason is because you might swallow it, and the Ramah said the reason is because the Ramah said the reason is because it's in Kufches. We're in Tzadiches, but it's in Kufches. The Ramah's reason is because if Reicha is Asur, then Kosher again is Asur to put into your mouth. They're almost in other places also, but it's in Kufches. And the Nafkin, the Mati Anderson says, he says, the Nafkin is like this: what happens if you have a food that tastes so awful that no one's going to swallow it? Okay, it's partial that it tastes so awful, no one's going to swallow this food. So he says, since the Issur is because maybe you're going to swallow it, so if we know for sure you're not going to swallow it, then it's not a problem. According to Ramah, that makes no sense. According to Ramah, it has to do with, an Issur l'chatchila has nothing to do with anything. Okay, so that's what the Mati Anderson says. Now, I'm not telling you that everybody agrees to that. I'm just saying is what the Mati Anderson says only makes sense according to the Rivash. The Rivash himself is mashma, not like that. The others also disagree. I mean, within the pshat of the Rivash, that the chashash you might swallow, the Rivash sounds like, when he says you're not supposed to do it, he doesn't sound like you're going to on purpose swallow it. It sounds like you're going to by mistake swallow it. Okay, the wording sounds like it's going to, but you might by mistake go down your mouth. Not that you're going to choose to do it. And by mistake makes a difference whether it tastes good or not. Okay, anyhow, I'm just doing such a thing. It's going to come up again later today. Such an idea that the Mati Anderson said is that if the Issur is you might swallow it. That's only if it's something that tastes good. If something doesn't taste good, no, you have to be chosh that someone's going to swallow. Okay, so that's all I said so far is about the Issur D'Rabbanan to taste something and to put it into your mouth to touch with your tongue without swallowing. What happens if it's only Safek Issur? It's not Vada Issur. It's only Safek Issur. So, that shaila, whether you could taste Safek Issur, has to do with the din in Hilchos Treifus. Okay, and that is like this. The din in Hilchos Treifus is, we are machmir to say that if an animal has no gallbladder, a mara, okay, then the animal's a treifa. Okay, so what happens if you shecht an animal and you cut it open and you don't see any mara, you don't see any gallbladder? Okay, so it's a treifa. So the Mechaber says that what you do is, you take the liver and the gallbladder right next to each other. Take the liver, taste the liver with your tongue. Touch your tongue to the liver, and if you taste the maror, it's called the maror because it has a really bitter taste. If you taste a bitter taste in the liver, then you know that the animal had a maror, or else the liver wouldn't taste bitter, and now you know it had it, and then the animal's not a treifa. Okay, so the shaila is, over there we're saying is, it's a suffix. You don't know if the animal's a treifa or it's not a treifa, and you're allowed to put to taste it with your tongue. Okay, you're allowed, not to swallow, you're allowed to put it in your mouth to lick the liver to see if it has a bitter taste or doesn't have a bitter taste. It's a Safek Issur. It might be a treifa. Yet you're allowed to do that. So that's marsha that you're allowed to. Well, come look at our din. Our din over here in Tzaddik Chesed, what did it say? It said if it's heter, then you taste. If it's, let's say, fleishigs and luchigs, then you should taste it. What happens if there's a taruvus and it's Issur? Then you can't taste it. You're not allowed to taste it. You have to give it to him as kfelo. You have to ask a to taste it because he is not allowed to taste it. That's like it's a gemara. If it's heter, if it was heter that was mixed together, fleishigs into parv, then you taste it. If it was treif that mixed into parv, you have to have a to taste it. So they're saying you're not allowed to taste it if it's Safek Issur. Okay? So in Hilchos Treifus it says you're allowed to taste a Safek Issur, and our din said you're not allowed to. So Taz says, no, really the din in Hilchos Treifus is correct. He says, Safek D'Rabbanan l'kula. Tasting is only Issur D'Rabbanan, so you're allowed to taste it. Yeah, no problem. If it's Safek Issur, you're allowed to taste it. He says, so why in our case you're not allowed to taste it? The reason is because, what I told you last time, which is that in our case, in order to be matir, the food, you're going to have to swallow it. Because in order to be matir, you have to make sure there's no tam. Over here, the tam is the chumrah. So you have to swallow it to make sure there's no tam. That would be Issur D'Oraisa. You're not going to be able to do that. Over there by the maror, it's the opposite. In the case of the maror, if you taste it, that's l'kula. So you're going to taste it with your tongue. That's Issur D'Rabbanan. You're allowed to do that. Safek D'Rabbanan l'kula, you could do that. And now, if it tastes like bitter, then you know the animal had a maror, it's kosher. You could eat it, no problem. If it doesn't taste bitter, now you'll have to consider it treif. As opposed to in our case, it's the opposite. In our case, the taste that you're going to notice is a chumrah. So you have to swallow it. Swallowing is going to be Issur D'Oraisa. That's why in our case, you're not allowed to taste it. That's what the Taz says. So the Taz says, be'etzim, you're allowed to taste Safek Issur, except in our case where you have to do a more serious tasting. Okay, that's what the Taz says. Shach says, no. Shach says is the reason why really you're not allowed to taste Safek Issur. Safek Issur you're not allowed to taste. So why by the liver were you allowed to do it? He says because in most cases the liver is going to have a maror. The roiv is going to be that there really was a gallbladder. I mean, the animal didn't have one. Of course, it probably did have one. You just got lost. But you're going to probably taste it. He says, and the ikar adin is that an animal without a maror is not a treifa either. We're just being machmir for that shita. Really, ikar adin is really not a treifa. So he says, so therefore, then it's really mutter because of the roiv and because of that's the din. So you're allowed to taste, you're allowed to lick the liver. But be'etzem, you're not allowed to taste a Safek Issur either. Okay, so why not? What happened to Safek Rabban L'Kula? So in Badei Shulchan, he says the reason why we don't say Safek Rabban L'Kula over here is because it's an eskalgal. Because if the first shayla that we have to ask about this food is it mutter or to eat it? Okay. Tasting it is the second shayla. The first shayla is it heter or is it isser? That's a shayla of deraisa. If you want to eat it, it's an isser deraisa. So on the shayla of deraisa, we say Safek deraisa l'chumra. Once we said Safek deraisa l'chumra, and you're not allowed to eat it. Now you want to know, okay, can I taste it also? Tasting is the secondary shayla. It's an eskalga from a deraisa to a derabanan. So he says, so you can't say Safek derabanan l'kula. But when you have a shayla that's totally in the deraisa and the rabbanon, that's two parts of the shayla. The deraisa, because eating the food.
Eating it to taste it is the rabbanon.
Right.
It's not like Bitul when they're in Kufal, or when it's a shayla deraisa, so it's also deraisa. Then you have to shine in Bitul. I want to do a mite which is better than this in the rabbanon.
No, because it's not a shayla on me. The shayla is this piece of food mutter or is it heter isser?
It's Issur gomer.
So
I want to do a mite in the rabbanon.
Exactly, it's Issur gomer, and therefore the rabbanon said when things are usher, you're not allowed to taste them. So the shayla, the ikar shayla is this heter isser.
You don't go to Safek.
Yeah, so now I got to the rabbanon application of it. So the rabbanon application, that's like in this galgon, and there we say he's explaining the shach. The shach doesn't say this. He's just explaining what was wrong with Safek rabbanon. That's what he said. Okay, so we have a machlokes here. Okay, we have a machlokes. The Taz says by te'im of Safek Issur you're allowed to do it, except in the cases like ours with some special reason why not. And the shach says no, you're not allowed to do te'im. You're not allowed to taste do this Issur rabbanon for a Safek Issur. Okay, the achronim debate back and forth whether Mutar also Pri Megadim seems to be Mekel, and the Yaakov brings a lot of people who are Machmir. And
what? To taste it?
Could you taste a Safek Issur? What? The Pri Megadim is Mekel. We could talk about that afterwards. That's my impression is that the Pri Megadim is Mekel. I don't know if I don't remember the Pischat. I'll. Yeah, we passed it Samach. Okay, yes. So, but I think Pri Megadim is Mekel, but it's okay. It's debatable what the Pri Megadim says. But Radosky said he thought you should be machmir. Okay, like the shach, they should be machmir. They should only do te'imus isser if, like the shach says, when there's roiv or the ikar din is to be Mekel anyhow. So then you could do te'ima, but otherwise you should not do te'ima with this. Okay.
I don't really understand how you're not going to swallow a mashu for this stuff. You can get all of it out. It's like a real tzad choshev that you can swallow a mashu.
Saying what the Rivash is saying, which is if I put it into my mouth and I spit it out, well, something's going to be left behind. You're saying.
So when you take the
It's a good question. It's a good question. It's a good question. You're just saying anything. You take orange juice into your mouth and you spit it out. Well, some of it's going to go down. No. Okay, it's a fair question. I'm not sure. Well, we're about to talk about boiling water. Very good. Okay, so our first, I even wrote in the email, but yes, so our first application is tasting boiling water. Okay, we taste boiling water. Why do we taste boiling water? We taste boiling water to see if it has a pigim in it. Okay, what's going on? I mean, the plant is making treif and kosher, and if the water is pogum, then we're okay. Then we don't have to worry about the steam to be used in kosher.
There's no hanan, no much of.
Yeah, okay, whatever. So, but we're there to taste it. That's a different day's discussion. We're there to taste it to see if it's pogum or if it's not pogum. Because if it's pogum, then we're safe. No, we don't have to think. Okay, we don't have to think about the chanans. All that stuff makes no difference. If it's pogum, it's pogum. What's the difference? You know?
It's pogum. It's fine because it's not pogum. What happened?
Right. Okay. So what's going on here is there's two possibilities. Either it's going to be pogum or it's not going to be pogum. If it's pogum, I'm allowed to eat it. I can drink the whole cup if I really wanted to. If it's not pogum, then I'm not allowed to drink that water. Okay?
I agree with that.
Because
that's right. Maybe it depends on the application. I want to know if this thing I'm tasting is going to transfer the tam weiter.
Yes.
So if it's pogum, it won't transfer it weiter, or it'll do it with the pigima, so it's not with gum. If it's not pogum, that's a problem. But if Blios went into this thing, that's a separate question. Did Blios go out of the plant food side into this side? I don't care. It's not going to help me if it's pogum.
Why not? If it's pogum, then
you're not allowed to eat Issur.
No, if it went to something that's pogum, then what's the difference?
No. If something tastes awful, something that doesn't taste good, but Okay, and anybody's
The
going
water
to
is not also. The water is not also.
Yeah, he's saying the wood
finish. But something doesn't taste good, okay? But that Blios of something good went into it. At the end of the day, I'm not going to like this thing because it tastes horrible in itself. But a Blios of good went in here. It's not going to be mutter. That thing gave tam l'shvach into this thing.
So what do you mean?
Plain is going to say this.
Right. What do you mean is like this? I mean like this. If the food that I had was completely inedible, I don't care if treif tam would come into it. But if the thing just has an off taste to it, just an off taste to it, not complete nisla me'achila. So, and then good tam comes into it, then he's saying, then the food itself, then it should be usher to drink this water. Because it's not...
It's sicher not rive, the Issur. This is sicher not rive.
Okay, therefore...
And it's problem with mutter. The rive has a mute...
No. But the issue that's coming in is l'shvach. Usually when you think pogum, you say...
But you take the meiser, there's a pogum here, so therefore this water is pogum. So therefore it's mutter.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's right. I have to
The plant is cooking in a kettle. Chazer. Okay?
Right.
Okay. Now there's a steam system. It is a water system. The water's going someplace else, and the water might be going to other things, right?
Right.
So I want to make sure this water system is pogum.
Right.
Right. If it's pogum, it won't transfer the time weiter.
Right.
But if it got chazer into this thing, it's not going to help you then.
You're talking about the
Into the water.
You're not tasting the chazer.
the water. So about the water.
Take the water.
The water, okay, which has tam of the chazer, and it has the tam of the pogum.
Right.
That means the bottom line that this water is pogum.
It's pogum, but I know but the chazer gets tam l'shvach. You know what drink.
Now look at the end product, right? Whenever you have it's a heter mixed and it's playing with each other, right? And they're playing with each other.
If you cook something that it probably doesn't taste good. Okay, I don't know. There's some type of food out there that doesn't taste good. It's a food. It's considered a chiyuv and you kipper yichayim, but it just doesn't taste good.
That's when the whole
Okay.
thing is, sir. When you have a bit.
And you cook it in a kettle that had chazer before, and Blios came out. Blios of chazer went into this thing, and Blios of chazer gave tam l'shvach into this thing. You're allowed to eat it because it doesn't taste good. Because I don't like it.
Yes. What? That's not. That's when the question of it, if you have chazer, 20% chazer, 80% potatoes, and chocolate. Okay, chazer and chocolate don't taste good. Okay.
No. Your case is different than his case. If the issue is nice and tam lefgam into the heter, then we say it doesn't ask for food. We don't say tam ki ikar because it's giving a negative taste into it. Here, the chazer is giving a positive taste into it. It's going into something that's negative. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys to pause because I don't know the answer, and I got to just keep on moving. So Rabowski said over here, according to the Taz,
That's what I'm saying. It's a vade problem.
I understand what you're saying. I understand your question. Okay, so if it would have been, according to the Taz, would be no problem. It's a Safek Issur. I'm allowed to taste Safek Issur. No problem. I'm just putting it into my mouth and spitting it out anyhow. But Rabowski said, but even the Shach is going to make over here because over here the roy for the time would be nice to say roy for the time. It doesn't have any time. Doesn't have any issur to it, any time to it, and therefore I'm allowed to taste it. Okay.
We're confident the time did not go through. We're basically confident time does not go through.
We're being we're saying roy for the time it's going to happen in quotation marks. Roy for the time it's not going to come through, and then so I know that I'm probably not tasting issur anyhow.
Without the other day, just taste plain water.
Correct. Okay. Okay. Correct. Okay, so that's one application. Okay, that's one application. Now, the next application is like this. That's for us who go into factories. Okay. Now, toothpaste and mouthwash. Okay. So, toothpaste and mouthwash, in most cases, contain glycerin in them. The glycerin could be kashrus or treif. So, there's a first question that's not for today, which is, are they considered royal achila or not royal achila? Okay. So, actually, the Sirsi's policy, or Schwartz's policy, or Shulchan like that also, is that they're not considered edible. If not royal achila, you can use any one you want. It makes no difference. It could be horse's legs in there. It makes no difference. It's completely mutter. Okay, Rabowski didn't agree with that, but that's not today's discussion. For today, we're pretending that it's royal achila. Okay, we'll say Rabowski way. What some people think that those things are considered royal achila. If it's royal achila, then we should have a question, which is the glycerin that's in there is a considerable amount. It tastes good. It's not bottle. It's not necessarily mafgam. It tastes good, or everything that it's supposed to. So that means to say is there's a glycerin in there. It might come from animal fat. It could be absolutely treif. So therefore, people like Rabowski would say is that it needs to have hashgacha, or you need to know that it had kosher glycerin in it, or had no glycerin in it, because otherwise it's tasting Safek Issur. So what is that saying? the Taz would have said, no problem. You only put toothpaste and mouthwash into your mouth and you spit them out. You don't swallow them. So it's only us in the Rabbanan. So everyone said it's a Safek Issur. You don't know where the glycerin comes from. Safek Issur. So the Taz would say, no problem. You could taste it and spit it out. You put the mouthwash in your mouth, you swish it around and spit it out. But according to the Shach, you would not be allowed to. Okay, and that's what people would say. They would tell people, you're not allowed to do that. Okay, so that's what people always did. So, but in recent years, Rabbi Elisha Rubin, who you know, who's been tracking glycerin forever, he's been working on hashgacha for a long time, and he's been tracking it for a very long time. He says, as you know, that psak came from, if we could use the word, from the olden days. Okay, which was, in the olden days was, the kosher and treif glycerin were 50-50. There was equal amounts of kosher and treif, and the treif was cheaper. And people used that. There was a reasonable suffix that they used that. He says it's not going on anymore. He says, for all kinds of cultural and, health reasons, first of all, people are avoiding animal glycerin. He says, and the biodiesel industry, which you probably heard of, we've spoken about in the past, they make biodiesel, they take oil and they turn it into fuel. Almost all of that is made from vegetable sources, not from animal, even though you can. There are people who make it from, used cooking oil, but almost everybody makes it from plain old vegetable oil. So there's a lot, a byproduct of biodiesel is glycerin. He says, so in the world nowadays, it's be'erach 70% kosher glycerin and 30% treif. And of that 30% treif, almost all of it is not even food grade. It goes to paint thinner and things like that people don't want to use for food use. So he says, so when you talk about things, put medicine aside for 1 second. Besides the medicines, he says everything else besides the medicine, he says, now we have what the Shach said, which is the roiv is that it's mutter. The roiv of the glycerin is hector. So the Shach said you're only allowed to do te'im of Safek Issur, put it into your mouth and spit it out when it's roiv hector. He says it is. Okay, so that sounds like a valid argument. Again, the Taz would for sure would have been makel, and the Shach would say is that nowadays that it's royal, nowadays that it is. Okay, that could change in 10 years or so. That's now, just as the side is that medicines are different. Medicines are different in this, and that's because, I was surprised to hear this, but it seems that it's true, that in medicines, if a company wants to change a medicine, change their ingredients, even their supplier of an ingredient, they have to go through new approvals from the government. And therefore, that means is that if I use this supplier of glycerin, if I, from 20 years ago, started using treif glycerin, that was my supplier, to switch over to kosher, I would want to switch over because my customers really want that. Because again, that's become the trend that people want the vegetable glycerin. But to switch over takes so many hurdles, so many government, applications and paperwork that companies don't like to do that. So there are, if it's a mouthwash, then chances are they're using kosher glycerin because that's what people want and that's very available and that's probably what they're going to be using. He says, but if somebody wanted to make a medicine, if they were using animal glycerin, they may be stuck with it and they may have to use it. So medicines, in a funny way, end up being more chomer. It has kulas because it's a medicine, but it has chumras because a person who's using animal glycerin might be stuck using it. Okay. And now our last application is e-cigarettes. Okay, we've talked about them in the past, I think. E-cigarettes they look like a cigarette. Okay, but instead of tobacco leaves, it has a juice in it. Okay, what they call a juice. Okay, excuse me. And what happens is the juice gets turned into a vapor, and it turns into a vapor that a person can suck into their mouth. Okay, and it has certain similarities to smoking a cigarette. Okay, what's the juice made out of? But that almost every one of the juices has the same 4 ingredients, and they are glycerin, propylene glycol, flavor, and nicotine. Okay, those are the 4 ingredients that are there. Maybe there are other ones also, but those are those are the 4 ingredients. Okay, so the question is, can you use them with hashgacha? Could you use them without hashgacha? Okay, now part of the question is that most of the hashgachas won't get hashgacha to it. So it's not like you say buy the one with hashgacha, because if you came to the CRC, we would say, no, you can't use it. And we'd say, so give me hashgacha, and we'd say, no, we won't give you hashgacha, because you don't want to promote smoking. So put people into a bind because they want to use it, but if you say, yeah, I want to buy potato chips, you say, okay, buy the one with hashgacha on it. But here, we won't give hashgacha to it. So, again, the main question here is that there's glycerin in it. And so on the first level, sort of in continuation of what we were saying is, we would say the same thing. You're putting it into your mouth and you're not swallowing it. You're just putting it into your mouth. And it's a team of this. Again, the Taz would for sure say that would be okay. And even according to the Shach, assuming we accept what Rabbi Reuben said, that roiv of the glycerin is kosher anyhow, so you're putting it into your mouth, roiv of it is going to be kosher anyhow, so you'd be okay you'd be allowed to have it, okay? What I said so far, not what I'm going to say in a minute, what I said so far is the same thing for hookah also, okay? Hookah has the same shilas, and the same, hookah, we once talked about it, hookah is it's a way of vaporizing liquids that you sort of suck into your mouth and whatever. It's I think it started as an Arabic thing. And it's kacha, it's a thing.
Hookah lounge.
Yeah.
Not like Kashrus.
Yeah, close enough. Okay. Now, but for the e-cigarettes, there's another tzad l'hakom. And that's like this. That's like this. There's two reasons why the juice that's in that e-cigarette is not royal achila. Okay, and the first reason is because it has nicotine. Okay, if a person drinks too much nicotine, it's for sure not good for them. It could even be fatal if you eat really a lot of it. So be'etzem, the juice is not the nicotine. Almost all of them have nicotine, and the ones that have nicotine, be'etzem, that makes it not royal achila. The second thing is that I told you there are 4 ingredients: glycerin, propylene glycol, flavor, and nicotine. Okay, you know our rule is that if something has more than 15% propylene glycol, that makes it pogum. Okay, and these have more than that. Okay, I'm going to tell you how they're marketed, how you mark an e-juice. A common way to mark it would be like this: 70 PG/30 VG. Okay, that stands for.
Very good.
That sounds like 70% propylene glycol, 30% vegetable glycerin. Okay, that's like a way they mark it. They put it on the package. That's it. So 70% propylene glycol, we really think it's not royal achila. Okay.
The first one is royal achila for this person.
I'm coming. Just give me a second. I'm coming to that in 1 second. Okay, I'm coming to that. Okay, so this is an example. So the first thing to say is that this is an example of the Matiyonis I told you about way back 15 minutes ago. Okay, that this is something where you put it into your mouth, you're tasting it in your mouth, but you will not want to swallow it. So Matiyonis had said was that in that case there's no Issur Tima. The Issur Tima is only when you might swallow it. But if here you know you're not going to want to swallow, then there's no Issur Tima. I told you that.
Is this what's happening with a person ingesting in his mouth? Doesn't it go in? I mean,
no, it's just a reicha. Yeah, that's what it is.
the person bleeds it out.
They breathe it out. Yeah, they breathe it out. They blow it out. Yeah. But I told you the Matiyonis is. I don't think that everybody agrees to that. Even the Ramah doesn't agree. The Ramah for sure doesn't agree with it. I don't even think the Rivash agrees to it. But it was just an application of this Matiyonis that said if it's something we know you won't swallow, then there might not be an Issur Tima. Okay, but there's another reason, and that is when something is not royal achila. If something is not royal achila, then there's no issue. You shouldn't fall off on that. Okay. So some time ago we said to Rabbi Reese, so maybe it's not royal achila. If it's not royal achila, then there's no issue. Forget about it. Forget about te'ima, kind of thing like that. Just stop. There's no issue on it at all. So he said, okay, I'll accept that. He says, but there's an issue rabbanan, a bachshavei. When you choose to eat something, this is what David was saying, when you choose to eat something, then midrabanan, not midrabanan, but midrabanan, choosing to eat something says must be that I show that it is royal achila. Okay, so midrabanan, it's considered royal achila because you chose to eat it. Okay, midrabanan, it's not. It's an objective standard. It's either royal achila or not royal achila. But if you choose to midrabanan, we say you subjectively consider royal achila, so that choice makes it royal achila. Okay, so that's why the Sirsi will tell people that you should not use juice without hashgacha, which is a joke, but you tell them juice without hashgacha, you only buy one that has hashgacha in it because of this din of akshay. So what happened after that is, I haven't gone back to read about this yet, is that Ramosh Chaim Khan said, no, he didn't think that was correct. Ramosh Chaim Khan, he's a Pesach in Lakewood. He says, akshay, what is akshay? Akshay is, we creep into your mind and we say is, if you ate this, you must consider it royal achila. Okay? So akshay means is you have to eat it. When you eat it, that shows that you consider royal achila. Over here, what's the person doing? He's doing just the opposite. He's only doing the te'ima and specifically not eating it. Okay, so how can you say akshay to say, since I ate it, shows that I consider it royal achila? No, the achila, I didn't do achila. I specifically do not do achila with this food. So how can you say akshay based on the I think that you're putting it, I'm deciding that you really consider it to be food because you ate it, but I didn't eat it. Okay, and there's a right to that. There's a right to that. The Prima Gordon I'm about to tell you doesn't say that this is the svara, but the Prima Gordon is talking about this tzemach tzedek that David mentioned before. That I forgot to mention at the beginning. The tzemach tzedek is talking about the guys who make soap. Okay, there are people who make soap, and soap was made from animal fat, and they wanted to taste the soap in the middle to see if the recipe was done right. Okay, they needed to just to see if they were cooking it correctly. Okay, so the Tzemach Tzedek talks about that. And the Pri Megadim says that, yeah, of course you could taste the soap because it's not Roy L'Chila. It's soap, okay? It's not Roy L'Chila, okay? So he said that's what he's talking about within the Tzemach Tzedek, okay? So why doesn't he say problem of Achshavei? Okay, he doesn't say why not. He doesn't talk about Achshavei at all. He just says it's not Roy L'Chila, so of course you could taste it. Okay? So there's this idea that Rabbi Reese wants here. There should be Achshavei because I put it.
You don't want to eat it at all. You want that reicha chotchik. When it's cigarette, you want the reicha. Or you don't want it. You just want to know that it's a good soul.
So why do you put it in your mouth? Because you want it. You're going to taste it. You're going to see. Does this?
But you don't want to taste. You're not just in the taste. Oh, you don't want to eat it. I don't mind. The only way to check a recipe. The recipe is good.
What your mouth? How do you taste? Check it with your mouth. Because it tastes like something. You see, does it taste like this? And that tells you whether the recipe was done right.
Okay, but not because you want to eat it. It's just reicha tinsu to find out about the recipe.
Okay, so you think that in itself,
whatever it is.
So that in itself, the fact that I'm tasting it for a secondary reason, instead of tasting because I want to taste it.
That's right.
Interesting. You're saying that's interesting. So you're saying
By
that
medicines, we say the same thing.
right? Yes. By medicine, we say also the fact that I'm taking it is not because I want to swallow it, because I have to get better. So you think here also I taste it because just as a way to check on that thing, not because I bet some want it. Okay, that's good. Okay, so you don't maybe not right. Okay, another reason he had to make it. Another potential reason to be makel is that Achshavei, I said 5 times, Achshavei is only D'Rabbanan. Okay, so in addition to the Safek D'Rabbanan of tasting, the Te'im is a Safek D'Rabbanan, Achshavei itself is only D'Rabbanan. Again, another reason to say Safek, and L'chayra, there's no niskalga on this thing. Okay, because this is not a food that's only sick. Is it mutter or aser? I'm not sure if there should be niskalga. Anyhow, either way, even if you agree with Rabbi Reese's way that should say Achshavei, or you think Rabbi Moshe Chaim Khan it's not Achshavei, we have our original thing, which is where we came from, which was according to the Shach, who said that it's mutter to Te'ima. If Ravid is mutter, then according to Rabbi Reuben, that should be good also.